Okay. So even I mentioned that a fluid machine may be termed a turbo machine when it satisfies this equation, when the energy transfer follows Euler equation. So now here, for the Pelton turbine, a cross section of the bucket is indicated. So you may remember that the shape is actually double hemi-ellipsoidal. So a cross section is shown here. You have the point here, the splitter. So the jet will come with a velocity c1, then it goes out, and you have the inlet velocity triangle where W1 is the relative velocity plus the blade velocity u, that must be equal to the jet velocity c1, and the relative velocity gets deflected by a large degree. See, this beta 2s is indicated, that may have a value like 165 degrees, so that the so-called beta 2 here degrees. Does not have any tangential component, okay, such that the angle is alpha to 90 degrees. Okay, so that is the desired condition where no energy is lost in that. You will have minimum C2. The other two, in one case, C2 will have a Cu component in the direction of motion, so there will be small reduction in the power transfer. The two will have a component Cu2 in a direction opposite to the motion, so it will appear that it adds to the energy transfer, but the velocity c2 with which finally the fluid leaves, that magnitude is more. So energy equivalent, C2 square by 2. It's also not an event. Okay. Now we'll see. So basic equation is W square is equal to Cu2. It's like this. The inlet Cu1 is more. If it is a pump or a compressor, it will be something like Cu2 minus Cu1. And here you have only U. It is not U1, U2. For Pelton turbine, the of Cu value. Simplification. So Cu2 can be written as, say, taking this velocity triangle, the second one in the exit. So Cu2 will be U2, the base velocity, minus W2 cos beta 2, where W2 is the relative velocity at exit. Okay, and this W2, the relative velocity at exit, the W velocity, the relative velocity at inlet. The reason is, it is, there is no expansion there, so relative velocity does not change. It's an impulse turbine. Again, we say that in impulse turbine, the relative velocity remains constant. But then W2 will be less than W1 because of friction, blade friction. So you put a coefficient K, which may have values 0.9 or 0.95. Okay, so so W2 is K into W1, K into W1 is from the first velocity triangle, it is nothing but C minus U, C1 minus U. So therefore, Cu2 is equal to U minus W2 cos beta. So that is W2 is written as K into C1 minus U. Then that cos beta is retained. Now this Cu2 is substituted in the first equation. So specific work is equal to U into Cu1 minus Cu2, which is equal to U into C1, because Cu1 is nothing but the internal velocity C1 minus Cu2, that is U minus K C1 minus U into cos beta 2. So here that C minus U, that you can take out. So finally you get a simple expression, WSP is equal to U into C1 minus U into 1 plus cos beta 2. So this is the expression for the specific speed. So what are things you need here is the beta 2. So once the blade is manufactured, the angle beta 2 is known. As I told you, its value may be around 15 degrees. Okay. The smaller it is better, but when you make beta 2 0, that means the relative velocity is completely turned 180 degrees. That flow will interfere with the inlet flow. Some may go and hit with the inlet flow region. So people have found from experience that this beta 2 equal to 15 degrees quite good for good efficiency. Okay, so for W specific, you should know U, the blade velocity, then beta 2. K is a coefficient which has to be assumed 0.9, 0.92 like that. Then C1. C1 is the jet velocity, it's the free jet. So for a Pelton turbine, the entire head available in nozzle is by the equation. Okay. Now, one will be interested in finding out what is the relationship of C1 with U for maximum efficiency. So for a given C1, a particular head is there, blade velocity. Now, why there should be, you can find out why there should be a relationship. U velocity is equal to what will happen to the energy transfer?
Sir, your connection is a bit breaking, sir. We couldn't hear you.
Suppose the velocity of what will be the energy transfer?
Sir, your voice is breaking.
What shall we do? Any suggestions from your end? At least the video is clear.
Sir, the presentation is clear, but audio is not clear. You could try to turn off your video. You can try to turn off the video, sir. Like webcam part. Turn off.
I didn't turn on the video. Yes. Oh, that is when I talk, I can turn off the video. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Then it will be better. Huh?
Hopefully.
Okay, now is it clear? Now the audio clear? Here it is indicated bad network.
Yes, sir. That would changing the network would be best. But I don't think it's possible now. So we can hear you for now. If there's an error, we will tell you there.
So now it's relatively better, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my thing is, well, then you won't see on the screen the PowerPoint, isn't it?
Sir, we can see the PowerPoint, sir.
We can see.
So we can
sir.
see the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Only just your video camera will be on.
Okay, okay. So the question I asked is, well, we are actually tackling a problem, finding out the relationship between C1 and U, which should give the best efficiency. So there is a relationship. You will find that when U is equal to C1 by 2, the efficiency is best. But why it should be like that? Okay, the function is like that because you find that specific work, you have a product U into C1 minus U. If you take that function, when U increases, C1 minus U decreases. So that way, power will decrease. Then when U increases, because the whole thing is multiplied by U, the power also should increase. So there is an optimum. But another thing is the end conditions. When U and C1 are at the same velocity, the power transmitted.
Zero.
It is zero. Okay. I may not say it is evident. If some thinking is required, it is zero. It is something like somebody trying to hit someone who is running away at the same speed as the one who is trying to hit. He can't hit. Now the other extreme, when U is zero, what is the power transmitted?
Again zero.
When U
Zero.
is zero. Evident. Or you have to think.
No. Huh? Zero only.
Yeah, why?
Intuitive.
Blade is not rotating.
See, because from fundamentals, power is rate of doing work. When is work done?
When there's some rotation in the blade.
When the point of application of the force moves. That is the fundamentals, isn't it? So the damn thing is not moving. So it is something like somebody hitting the wall. You can transmit force, but not power. Again, between force and power, force is not a conserved quantity. Many people, think of there is a lot of force. Force you can multiply. From 1 Newton, you make 1000 Newton. There is no conservation principle. But from 1 watts, you cannot make 100 watts. There is conservation because power is nothing but rate of doing work. Work is nothing but related to energy. Energy conservation is there. Okay, some little bit of mathematics here. Then finally you get the expression for maximum efficiency. U is equal to C1 by 2. That if you substitute, you get the expression 1 plus K cos beta 2 by 2. Okay. Okay, the next one, one numerical problem. No. This is about major parameters in Pelton turbine. So I've listed some parameters, and the first one is the head H net. See, for all turbine calculations, it is the net head we have to consider. Net head is equal to Hg minus HL. HL is the gross head. In yesterday's PowerPoint, you have seen that H gross is the dam water and the downstream water, or we say head raise and tail raise. The difference in height, that is gross head. Then loss is various losses, intake and on the pipe there will be losses. So total loss, if you deduct, what you get is the net head. Then you have the equation, the velocity of the jet, the nozzle. See there, we use a coefficient CV about 0.98, so that C1 is equal to CV into root 2 G H net. Then the kinematic expression U is equal to pi d of wheel. So you will have two diameters. One is diameter of the wheel, then the diameter of the jet or the nozzle diameter. Okay, so we differentiate by this suffix. W is for wheel. So U is equal to pi d wheel into n by 60. So you can calculate the blade velocity U. Then the next one is sigma. The sigma is blade speed ratio or speed ratio, which is blade velocity by jet velocity which is about 0.46. Now we found that for maximum efficiency it should be 0.5. See, U by C should be 0.5, but from practice they have found out that this 0.46 is the optimum. So almost everywhere this 0.46 is used as the speed ratio. Then there is the small m, which is the wheel diameter to jet diameter ratio. It's called the jet ratio, and again 14 to 16, it is an empirical value. From experience they have fixed this value, which should give you the best efficiency. Then this number of blades or number of buckets ZB is 0.5 m plus 15. So you will find that this jet ratio is around 14 to 16. So if I put 7, you should get 15 plus 7, 22. If I put 8, it is 23. So you will find some 21, 22, 23 buckets. In any Pelton wheel, the number of buckets is that only. Okay. Then Q jet. Okay. That is pi d jet square by 4 into C1. See, why we separate Q jet is sometimes you will have more number of jets. Again, yesterday we had seen that in horizontal Pelton wheel setup, 2 were shown. In a vertical shaft Pelton wheel, even 4 was shown. So I said maximum up to 6 are there. So when the total discharge is Q total, the Q jet will be total discharge divided by number of jets. Yeah. So Q total is equal to Q jet into Z jet. Z jet is number of jets, and Qt is the total discharge. Now the specific work equation which we have derived, that is U into C1 minus U into 1 plus K cos beta 2. Beta 2 value is around 15 degrees. Then you have the nozzle efficiency. Some efficiencies are defined. You have a nozzle efficiency, you have a wheel efficiency, you have a hydraulic efficiency, you have a mechanical efficiency, and you have an overall efficiency. So how many are there?
5.
5 efficiencies are there. So their relative expressions are given. Nozzle efficiency means C1 square by 2G Hn, where Hn is the net head. Then wheel efficiency is specific work divided by C2 square by 2. Okay. Then you have the hydraulic efficiency that combines both nozzle and wheel efficiency, the product of them. Then mechanical efficiency comes from what is the shaft power and what is the power developed by the wheel. That is specific work into m dot will be the power developed by the wheel. So P shaft by m dot W specific. Then you will have an overall efficiency, that is P shaft, the shaft power, divided by m dot into G net. Okay. So totally you have overall efficiency is equal to eta H into eta mechanical. So finally it is the wheel efficiency multiplied by the nozzle efficiency multiplied by the mechanical efficiency. Now these Pelton turbines, the overall efficiencies could be very high, maybe 93-95%. Okay, they are very, very efficient. Then okay, next is the specific speed. Okay, so already we had seen the specific speed for a pump. So for a turbine, you have, now if you recall, the dimensional analysis was done for the fluid turbo machine. We derived some 3 basic parameters. Okay, one was termed the flow coefficient, another was the head coefficient, another one was the power coefficient. Now to get the specific speed expression for pumps, we took flow coefficient, head coefficient, and from that we removed, okay, somehow we eliminated the diameter term, and we got the specific speed expression. So to get the specific speed expression for turbine, we have to take the head coefficient and the power coefficient, combine them such that the diameter term is removed. You will actually get the shape number NSH. So below, number 16, that is n into root p by rho divided by gh power 5 by 4. From this, the specific speed is derived by removing rho and g. So you n into p by h power 5 by 4. Now, what is the main difference between specific speed and shape number? Somebody?
Sir, specific speed is not like dimensionally correct, but shape number is dimensionally correct.
Yeah, dimensionally, non-dimensional. It is non-dimensional. That is what your correct means, I hope. So specific speed is dimensional. So depending on the unit system used, it will change. Shape number for all, the coherent system of unit. Remember, that is very, very important. Coherent system. That means if I calculate shape number here, n has to be revolutions per minute. I'm sorry, revolutions per second or radians per second. P has to be in watts. Rho has to be in kg per meter cube. G should be meter per second squared. H should be in meters. Then you have the values. Okay. So for specific speed, for Pelton turbine is around 10 to 25, mainly for the single jet units. So you have multiple jets. How do you calculate? That is one issue. Okay, one method is put power for single jet. You will get a value like this. If you put the power for the entire number of jets, the value you get may go up to 50. Okay, so one should say there specifically what is the power used. Is it for one jet or for the complete turbine? Okay, now a numerical problem. A double jet, double overhang Pelton turbine is to develop 10 megawatt. The specific speed is 20. The gross head is 350 meters and the head loss in the penstock is 5%. Find the speed of rotation, diameters of wheel and jet. Also determine the diameter of a pair of, it's not pane of penstock, it is pair of penstock pipes, assuming Darcy's friction factor as 0.024 and pipe length as 1 kilometer. CV is 0.97, the velocity coefficient. Then the sigma speed ratio is 0.46 and overall efficiency is 85. So you are asked to find out the speed of rotation n, the diameters of the wheel, that is dw and dj. You are also asked to find out the diameter of the penstock pipes. So there are two penstock pipes. So what is the diameter? So first thing is, it is double overhang with two jets. So totally how many jets are there? Can you hear me?
4.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
4 are there. See this G, what does this G indicate?
Generator.
Generator. On either side, on the left side there is one and the right side one, they are overhung. Okay, if they are not overhung, I have to extend that and put a support here and another bearing here. Then it is properly supported. This is overhang on something like a cantilever. Okay, and for each rotor, how many jets are there?
2, sir.
2 are there. So totally 4. So the power developed by a single jet is 10 megawatt divided by 4. That should give you 2.5 megawatt. Then see, you are given the specific speed. Okay, so from that you can calculate the speed of rotation. Okay, so specific speed is n into root p by h power 5 by 4. So from that, n should be ns into h power 5 by 4 divided by root of. So that gives you around 568 revolutions per minute. So on the right side, I have put some 600 revolutions per minute. Can you guess what it is? Anybody?
Synchronous speed.
What does it mean, synchronous speed?
Like it's a parameter for electric motor.
Yeah, like it's something connected with electrical this thing. So your fundamentals in electrical you have to check. Now, see what is the main application of this hydraulic turbines?
Generation of electricity.
Generation of what?
Electricity.
Electricity. Yeah, AC or DC?
AC current.
AC. What is the frequency?
60 hertz.
60 hertz.
60.
60 or 50, sir.
You have doubt. You are already thinking of going to US. Okay, there it is 60 only. Here it is 50. Okay, so when you have 50 cycles per second or 50 hertz, so for 1 minute it is how many?
3,000.
Huh? 50 into 60, how much it is?
3,000, sir.
3,000. So in the generator, if you put, a single pair of poles, magnetic poles, it will give you, and when you run this machine at 3,000, you will get, 50 cycles per second. Now, if you want to put 2 pairs of poles, then you have to run it at 1,500 RPM. Okay, so that is one synchronous speed. Then if you put 3 pairs of poles, it is 3,000 divided by 3, it comes to 1,000 RPM. So these turbines should rotate around that speed. Little bit of tolerance is there. Tolerance in your final frequency is there. Okay, maybe 0.5 hertz or something should be there. So corresponding to 568, there is on 600 RPM. So how many pairs of poles should be there?
5.
5 pairs. So 600 is there. 300 RPM also some turbines will rotate. You will have more number of pairs of poles. Okay, that is what I have indicated here. So in many problems, you may have to then change this and finally say that the specific speed is slightly higher. Okay, now for this calculation, we will continue. The velocity C1, the jet velocity CV into root 2 GH net. So the equation is there. 28.3 meter per second. Now blade speed is equal to U is equal to sigma into root 2 GH net. You can see directly take sigma is equal to U by C1. So that way also you will get around 37.2 only. So that is the blade speed. Now blade speed meters per second, that is tip speed is known, RPM is known. Definitely you can immediately calculate the wheel diameter. So this equation U is equal to pi d wheel into n by 60, from which you can calculate the diameter of the wheel, which comes to around 1.25 meters. So maybe around 4 feet. Okay. So that is the diameter. Now, next thing is to find out the diameter of the jet. Okay. So you have the equation for the power for single jet. Okay, so we can calculate the power is rho g q jet into net head into overall efficiency. Okay, So from this equation, we have to find out the discharge for one jet. Okay. So it is power of the jet divided by all the other parameters from that equation. Power jet is equal to rho g q jet into h net into overall efficiency. Or rather, the overall efficiency is defined as the power output divided by rho g q jet into h net. So from that you calculate the volume flow rate, that is 0.9 meter cube per second. So now this volume flow rate you can equate to the area of cross section and velocity, that is pi d jet square by 4 into c1, from which you can calculate the diameter of the jet. Okay, so you get a value. Now the last part is calculation of the say the diameter of the penstock. So based on the head loss, so you have the dam and the reservoir, you have the penstock 1 kilometer long. Now the basic friction loss equation, the Darcy's equation, is head loss is equal to FLV square by 2GD, where V is equal to Q by pi d square by 4. Now V can be substituted in terms of the discharge, so that you get the final equation for head loss as 8FL into Q square by pi square G d power 5. Now head loss is given, it is 5% of the gross head, so 0.05 into 350, which amounts to 17.5 meters. So you put well, now the discharge is through 2 penstocks. Okay, so total power comes in 2 penstocks. So each penstock will cater to 2 jets. So that is why the discharge through 1 penstock is equal to 2 into Qj. So what we have calculated is for 1 jet. So for 2 jets it is 1.8 meter cube per second. So now you can use that equation, so that d power 5 is equal to 8FL Q square by pi square G power G into head loss. The value of F is given 0.024. So if you substitute, you get 0.37 for d power 5. So which gives d of penstock as 0.82 meters. So the penstock diameter is 0.82 meters. Now out of curiosity, I thought we'll calculate and see what is the velocity of water in penstock. Okay, you find that 4Q by pi d square, it comes to around 3.4 meter per second. So that is a decent velocity. Now if the velocity is very high, say something like 10 meters per second, it will produce a lot of loss. But advantage is the penstock pipe size will be smaller. If I still reduce the velocity, say 1 meter per second, the penstock pipe will be very large. So this is by practice, they will have some values around 3, if I remember, that is the one used. Okay, so that you get an optimum situation. Okay, so any doubt in this? So as such, I think we will stop, our discussion on Pelton turbines. So it is an impulse turbine, so used for very high heads. Then some specific speed is mentioned, maybe around 10 to 25 or 50. That is the range. Okay, you have Pelton turbines working with heads almost 2 kilometers. Okay, that means 2,000 meters. It's of very good efficiency. You have single jet, then multi-jet machines, and And so I think that's all about Pelton turbines. Maybe any doubt? I'm not able to hear you.
So the synchronous speed, how did you get? Like we found the N as some 568 RPM, and then synchronous speed, are we assuming it to the closest possible value, or how are you calculating?
See, I have that 3000 for one pair of poles. I divided that by the given speed. The calculated speed is 500 and something, no?
Yes, sir.
560. When I calculate, it came around how much? 6 point something.
Okay.
6 or so corresponding to that. So I round it.
Okay.
So from that, see, little bit lower or higher, it should be. It has to finally work with that speed only. I don't think Pelton turbines are used for other applications. So mainly for electric power generation. So at the back of the mind, you should know that there is something called synchronous speed. Any of these machines used for generating AC power, which has to be connected to the grid. See, if you are having a generator at home, again, you will have so many other devices which should have restrictions. The frequency should be so much. Okay. In that case, it has to run at the synchronous speed only. Any other doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, then the next topic will be Francis turbine. I think we'll have it tomorrow. Okay.